سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح نور على مر الزمان تألقا وأضاء للدنيا طريقا مشرقا.
So a person uses that person in order to get some sort of benefit. That person who benefited the other person is not actually allowed to take anything in return for that. For example, let's say a person like a sheikh is well known in the community. If sheikh is well known in the community, so someone, they might have a problem between two people. A person might have a problem with a relative or a friend. So they say, sheikh, please come and sort out this issue. So the sheikh is known in the community to be, mashallah, a person of reputation, and people listen to him, etc., and they take his advice. So when he goes to these people and he sorts out the problem, he's actually Islamically not allowed to take anything in return. He's not actually allowed to take anything in return. That's either by them gifting him and him accepting that gift, which is very common, or, which is worse, him actually putting a price on his assistance. So for him to say, okay, I'll go and speak to that person for you, but you have to pay $1,000. That also is not allowed. And it's worse than the first one. So this is interceding on behalf of someone with the reputation that Allah Azza wa Jal has given you. To have a position of high standing amongst people is one of the blessings of Allah Azza wa Jal to his slave, if he is grateful. One way in which a person may give thanks for this blessing is by using this position to benefit other Muslims. This is part of the general meaning of the hadith, مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَنْفَعَ أَخَاهُ فَلْيَفْعَلْ. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever is able to assist his brother or to benefit his brother, then let him do so. So different people can benefit in different ways. Sometimes you have a person, mashallah, Allah has given them wealth, so they're able to assist with wealth. Other people, Allah Azza wa Jalla has given them very good academic studies, they're able to tutor and assist other people. So whoever can assist someone should do so in whichever way form is possible to them. One of the blessings that Allah Azza wa Jalla gives people is status. So you might have a person in the community, maybe a big businessman, maybe a person who's like the leader of a particular tribe or the leader of a particular community or the head of an organization or a sheikh, whatever it may be. Allah's given these people status. People look up to them, people respect them, people, if they speak, listen, etc. So this blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal gave to that person, they need to use it in the way that is pleasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. The person who uses his position to benefit others by averting injustice or bringing some good without doing anything that is haram or infringes on the rights of others will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so long as his intention is sincere, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ishfa'u tu'jaru. Intercede and you will be rewarded. Intercede for others, yani go and on behalf of someone so that you can sort out a problem or bring them some benefit, and you'll be rewarded for that. Rewarded by who? Rewarded by Allah Azza wa Jal. So this becomes an act of worship. This becomes an act of worship. You do it sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it's an act of worship that Allah Azza wa Jal, rewards the person on. And some of the ulama has actually said, if Allah has given a person this position or this authority or status, it means it's an obligation to assist other people. And that's why he's not allowed to take anything in return, or one of the wisdoms. It is not permitted to accept anything in return for this intercession or mediation. Evidence for this may be seen in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, narrated by Abu Umama, which says, من شفع لأخيه بشفاعة فأهدى له هدية فقبلها فقد أتى بابا عظيما من أبواب الربا. Whoever intercedes for someone, then accepts a gift in return for it, enters a great door from amongst the doors of riba. So we know that riba is haram. Riba is haram. For you to do a transaction with someone is halal. When riba gets involved in it, the action becomes haram. Exactly the same here. For you to assist someone is halal. When you are given a gift and you accept it, in this particular instance, or you ask for a sum of money in order for you to be able to help that person, this becomes haram. This becomes haram. Again, this is in interceding on behalf of someone. for you to go and do a favor for someone or to get someone's right back, etc. And he's asking you because you're a person of status. People respect you. This is where it becomes, this is why it's haram. You're meant to use that blessing in a way that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people offer the opportunity to benefit from their position in return for a sum of money in order to help someone get a job or a transfer from one office or area to another, or treatment for the sick, etc. The soundest opinion is that this exchange is haram because of the hadith of Abu Umama quoted above. Those whose apparent meaning is that accepting such gifts is wrong, even if no agreement was previously made. You have a lot of the time, a lot of people going to people like debt collectors, and they send them to other people. That's where it becomes extremely practical in our time. Where you have people that go to debt collectors and say, look, there's this guy who owes me like $10,000 or $100,000 or whatever it may be. Please go and speak to that person and I'll give you 10% of what he owes me, or 5%. Or they agree on a sum of $1,000 or $10,000, just go get my stuff. Go get my money or get my rights. This is haram for a person to do. This is haram for a person to do. Why are they using that person? Not because of their expertise or because they have something specific that no one else has, like a law degree. They have authority. They have authority. That's why they're using that person. The other person is scared of them. The other person is weaker than them, etc. So they send someone that they'll listen to in order to get that right back. A person is meant to do that for free, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. When the person does that and takes something in return, what is taken in return is haram. The reward which the doer of good will receive from Allah Azza wa Jal on the day of judgment should be sufficient. A man came to Al-Hasan ibn Sahal asking him to intercede for him in some matter, which he did. Then the man came back to thank him. Al-Hasan ibn Sahal said to him, why are you thanking us? We believe that zakah is due on positions of rank just as it is due on wealth. And just like if a person goes and he has money, he has to give zakat on it. He's saying, Al-Hasan ibn Sahal, that part of the zakah, when Allah gives you status, when Allah gives you awe, Allah gives you a good reputation, part of the zakah is to go and to help others that need that help. That's part of the zakah. It is worth pointing out here that there is a difference between hiring someone to do legal paperwork for you and paying him wages in return, which has to do with the legitimate hiring of labor and using that person's position to intercede for you in return for money, which is haram. So we can't mix up between the two, so that no one understands incorrectly. Let's say you hire someone because they have expertise, like a lawyer, for example. You hire the lawyer because he has expertise in this field, and you want him to come help you with legal paperwork, legal document to fight your case, etc. He's got expertise. You need him in order to come up with the best outcome because you don't know what's happening. And if obviously the lawyer with his expertise is going to assist everyone for free, he's not going to be able to live. So this person is excused. But a person who, this isn't their line of work, there's no expertise here. It's just that, alhamdulillah, Allah has given him a good standing in the community, so he's asking for a favor. Brother, please, can you speak to this family for me? For example, I want to get married. Or can you please speak to that brother? I'm looking for a job. Can you ask him if he's got workers and put in a good word for me? He's not allowed to take money. Or, for example, two people are fighting and someone comes and says, look, can you please step in to sort the problem out? So you, with that authority that you have, you're meant to step in and assist the Muslims because that will be beneficial for all. And this again leads to an upright society. When everyone in authority is using that authority and all that Allah Azza wa Jalla gave them in a beneficial manner, this leads to benefit for everyone. Hasanat, and to stay away from the haram, etc. When money is involved, what starts to happen? Tafadhal, Shan. When money is involved, what starts to happen? Corruption, how? It's very common today. How does this lead to corruption? Like, okay, it can lead to one form, which is like bribing someone, like we said last week. Naam, bribing? Sounded weird for a second. You're not bribing someone where, please go put in a good word for me and I'll give you, for example, $1,000. So that person ends up giving that person an unjust advantage when he's not deserving of it. As opposed to putting in a good word fairly for someone like a reference. Naam, that if not, what starts to happen? Whoever pays more, they get the position. And that's un-Islamic and unfair and unjust. What else could happen? So that way is haram because of, can lead to bribery. What else? If someone is taking money for doing favors for people, putting in good word, using his authority, etc., using his stand amongst people. Greed, benefit, only the rich will be able to benefit. Okay? Whoever can pay, they're the one that get that assistance from the people. As for the poor people, then they're not looked at. And that's not what Islam wants. Islam wants society to be fair and just for all. You guys are missing one that is so common and prevalent in our time in Sydney. Not also, I was talking about in Sydney. Standovers. People start doing standover over other people based on their what? Based on their reputation. Based on their reputation. And so when another person knows that they need another person's support, they look, okay, who's the strongest person? That person forces them to pay, for example, protection. They have to pay protection. You come, you pay, $1,000 a week, and we won't let anyone else come close to you. They use their stand and their authority to oppress people. And if they don't, they say, okay, we'll open the door for the other people to come in to harm you. So you are able to say to the other people, you're not allowed to step foot here, but you chose to be the oppressor, looking like the knight in shining armor. We're going to assist you from, protect you from the other people. This is haram. And it becomes that people don't give their haqq anymore unless, as we said previously, unless they pay someone to go get it from them again. This is not correct. It depends on who you know. In order for you not to give a person's right, you say, my brother or my cousin or my uncle is XYZ, so I'm not going to give you anything. So you have to get someone bigger than XYZ to speak to XYZ in order for the person to give you their right back. So it becomes a culture of oppression, and it feeds that gang lifestyle, unfortunately. It gives them that work to do, and this is un-Islamic and inappropriate in any society. But it's actually prevalent in our society, which is extremely unfortunate. So if a person is asked to do a favor and they're able to do that favor, they need to do that favor without taking anything in return. Even if a person says, I done it, not intending anything in return, but they gifted me, he's not allowed to take that gift. He's not allowed to take that gift. The author, Hafidhullah, continues, also making the employee to do extra work or put in longer hours without paying them overtime or giving him any more than the basic salary. And this is a form of theft. This is when it's not agreed upon beforehand that he's going to do extra work without any extra pay. So sometimes a boss has agreed with his worker, look, you're going to work some days an extra hour or two and there's no extra pay. And it's like rare, but they agree on it from the beginning, there's no problem there. It's when it's expected that if I work overtime, I'm going to get paid. When it's expected and you don't give, that's when it becomes haram. Same thing with like sick days, or when it comes to superannuation in our particular case, or holiday leave, etc. All of these are important because if your contract from the beginning states that you're going to get paid superannuation, you're going to get paid sick days, you're going to get 4 weeks of holiday leave, etc. When a person is under that contract, you have to give it to them if you're the employer. It's an obligation. It's Islamically an obligation. So it becomes the sharia for you in that particular contract to give that person. And if you refuse to do so, then it becomes haram. And it becomes a debt on your neck. You either pay that debt in this dunya, or a'yadhan billah, it gets paid in the hereafter. If it's agreed on from the beginning of the contract that these things aren't involved. For example, first person works for you on his ABN, or he gets paid cash. So it's expected, okay, you're not going to get paid sick days, you're not going to get paid superannuation, etc., then no problem. That's no problem. When things are agreed on from the beginning, it's an obligation to fulfill that duty. What about if things weren't agreed on from the beginning? If things weren't agreed on from the beginning and he works for the person, and then like 2-3 weeks later there's a problem, what does it go back to? It goes back to what was commonly known or what's commonly expected. Is he working for you like as if he's like on an ABN? Then obviously you don't need to give him that stuff because you're paying him cash. Or is he working for you where everything is meant to be proper and legitimate and on the books, he's your employee? Then you have to pay him everything that he's due, even if it wasn't stipulated at the beginning. So it goes back to what's commonly understood. Some bosses delay payment of wages and pay up only after much struggle, complaining, chasing, and court cases. Their aim may be to make the employee give up his claim to his rightful wages and stop asking. Or they may want to invest this money, perhaps by lending it for interest, etc. Meanwhile, the employee cannot buy his daily bread or send anything home to his needy wife and children, for whose sake he left to work overseas. Woe to those oppressors on the painful day. Abu Hurairah reported, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah Azza wa says, there are three whom I will oppose on the day of judgment. This is Hadith Qudsi. There are three that I will oppose on the day of judgment. So Allah Azza wa Jal is their khasm. Ana khasmuhum. I am their opponent on the day of judgment. Three in particular in this narration. A man who gives his word swearing by me, then breaks it. So you say, Wallah, this is the truth, and you're lying. Or you say, like for example, Wallah, I'm going to do this, and you don't do it. Or a man who sells a free man into slavery and keeps the money. So a man's not a slave, but you act as if he's a slave because he's weak or he's a wayfarer or something. So you take him as if he's a slave and you sell him to another person as if he's a slave and you keep that money. This is a person Allah Azza opposes on the day of judgment. And a man who hires another man and benefits from his labor, then does not pay him his wages. وَرَجُلٌ اسْتَجَارَ أَجِيرًا فَاسْتَوْفَى مِنْهُ وَلَمْ يَعْطِهِ أَجْرَهُ. You hired someone, you benefited from him, and you didn't give him his wages. On the day of judgment, who will be your opponent? Allah Azza wa Jal. And who can handle Allah Azza wa Jal as their opponent? And what was mentioned before this hadith is extremely important. That people rely on the money that they're given. So when you delay a person, you're oppressing that person. And the dua of the oppressed is what? Accepted. The dua of the oppressed is accepted, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. So when you are not giving him his wage, sometimes he can't pay for his rent or his mortgage, halal one obviously, or he can't pay for his car repayments, or he's in debt to someone else, he can't make his payments. Sometimes things literally like food, he has to cut out like meat, he can't buy meat that week, he has to eat cheaper things or drink cheaper things, can't take his family out. You start to affect his life. Sometimes his school, the school payments, private school or after school education, he can't pay for that because you delayed that person. So you're taking their right, so you're really affecting that person. How a person, wallah, has the heart to do something to someone and not expect it in return, Allahu Alam. So this person is not allowed to withhold the person's wages at all. Anything that a person withholds from a person's wages, he needs to fulfill in this dunya. If not fulfilled in this dunya, then as the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah Azza wa Jalla will give that person their right on the day of judgment. So a severe warning to anyone that owes anyone anything, even if it's with half a day, even if it's $5, $100, even if it's a person who's an absolute nobody, Muslim or non-Muslim, male or female, grown man or child, anything that is owed to anyone, in order to give them their right. It's not worth going to the hellfire for 100 or 200 or 1,000 or even $1 million to have gone to the hellfire. Some people, unfortunately, they have no fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, no fear of the day of judgment, no fear of the hellfire. Let those people ask themselves, would you take $1,000 to put your hand over a candle for 10 minutes? They wouldn't, because the pain would be too severe. And that's only your hand over a candle for $1,000. Or would you take, wallah, $1 million? $1 million I would fundraise. Personally, I would fundraise to give it to someone who would do it, because no one would. I would take that day upon myself to find someone who would stay 1 hour in a burning fire, and I'll give them $1 million. All you need to see is 1 hour in a fire for $1 million. No one will do it. The pain is too severe. The consequences after that $1 million are too severe. So you wouldn't give it up, a $1 million fire for 1 hour and $1 million reward. How then a person thinks, well, I'm going to get away with anything from the dunya, and a'yadhan billah, be engulfed in a hellfire in the hereafter, a hellfire that Allah prepared for punishment. May Allah Azza wa Jal save us and perfect our actions and allow us to ensure that no one has any rights upon us that we haven't fulfilled, and that all of our debt and everything that is an obligation upon us is fulfilled in this dunya, so that in the hereafter we have nothing on us, but not the right of Allah because we fulfilled, nor the right of the people, so that we're able to enter paradise, inshallah, with no reckoning whatsoever. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله محمد وعلى آل محمد وصحبه أجمعين.
بالله كم تستطب القروح ويبرأ جروح الكسير الجريح وينشط ذاك السقيم العليل وقد كان بالسقم دهرا طريح.